We're here with Gene Yang, the creator of Boxers and Saints and the upcoming Shadow Hero from First Second. Thanks a lot for meeting with us.
Thank you for having me. This is great.
My pleasure entirely, really. So, Boxers and Saints, up for an Eisner this year. It is a two-volume set that takes a look at the Boxer Rebellion in China, but looks at it from both the point of view of the Chinese and the point of view of the sort of foreign Christians. Talk to us a little bit about sort of how you came to this project.
Sure. I first became interested in the Boxer Rebellion in the year 2000. That year, Pope John Paul II canonized a group of Chinese Catholic saints. I grew up in a Chinese Catholic community, and this was the very first time that the Roman Catholic Church, this deeply Western institution, had acknowledged Chinese citizens in this way. So my home church freaked out. They flipped out about it. They had all these celebrations and special masses, and all these festivities really encouraged me to look into the lives of these newly canonized saints. What I discovered was that many of them had been martyred, had been killed during the Boxer Rebellion, and specifically they were killed because back then, if you were of Eastern descent and you embraced a Western faith, you were seen as somebody who turned your back on your people. And the more I read about the Boxer Rebellion, the more I felt like it embodied this tension between East and West that I have felt as an Asian American throughout my life, at different points in my life. The more I read about the Boxer Rebellion, the more ambivalent I felt about it. I couldn't decide if I sympathized more with the Boxers, these young men who believed that they had superpowers and rose up against the Europeans, or against their Chinese Christian enemies who were supportive of the European presence. And that's why there are two books. The good guys in one book are the bad guys in the other. So it's really like an expression of my own ambivalence.
Well, the first book tells it from the boxer's point of view,
right.
Also a very male point of view, whereas the second book tells the point of view from not necessarily from the Western point of view, but actually from a Chinese girl who, like you said, changes her opinion and turns her back on it. As you were writing it, you mentioned you felt more and more ambivalent. That was something I noticed about the book, is there is no good guy or bad guy. Everybody ends up sort of coming out a little unclean at the end of this.
Yeah, I think that's how I felt when I read the source material. I just felt like I just couldn't. There was a mix of good and bad on both sides. I couldn't pick a clear protagonist, and that's why I really felt like I needed to do those two books.
And I think I read somewhere that you've talked about how you've noticed through your research sort of this parallel between sort of our perspectives in the West and like Middle Eastern people, that what is considered a terrorist by one group is considered a fervent believer by another.
Yeah, I think there are a lot of parallels between the modern world and the Boxer Rebellion. The Boxer Rebellion, the Boxers were these young Chinese men. They were mostly teenagers or in their early 20s. They were hopeless. They were supposed to be farmers, but all their crops had died because China had gone through this drought. And then they were really angry about this foreign presence in their homelands. They really saw it as an affront to who they were as Chinese. They felt like the foreigners were corrupting their culture. So they rose up against them, and they empowered themselves by embracing these strange beliefs, strange to the modern mind. What they believed was through a mystical ritual they could call these Chinese gods down from the skies, and these gods would possess them and give them superpowers. It was kind of like ancient Chinese Shazam. That's really what it was like. And I think we see a very similar dynamic happening in the Middle East today. There are these young men many of whom are poor. Many of them feel hopeless about the future. Many of them are angry about the foreign presence, and they empower themselves through these spiritual beliefs that maybe as modern day Americans we find kind of strange.
So let's use that empowerment to transition to your new book, The Shadow Hero, that's coming out. Copyright here. That is the story of arguably the first Chinese American superhero. You were telling me that this actually is a golden age hero. I believe he existed for like 5 issues or something in the 40s.
He was not very popular. But the Green Turtle was for the protagonist of the Shadow Hero is a superhero called the Green Turtle, and he was created by a Chinese American cartoonist named Chu Hing in the 1940s during the golden age of American comics. There's a rumor about the Green Turtle, and that's this: Chu wanted to create a character that was a Chinese American superhero, but his publishers didn't think that a character like that would fly in the marketplace at the time. So Chu Hing, being a cartoonist, reacted very passive aggressively. That's how cartoonists deal with things, right? We react very passive aggressively. And what he did was he drew these original Green Turtle comics so that we never get a clear view of his face. He almost always has his back turned towards us, so all we see is his cape. And then when he is turned around, something's blocking his face, like another character standing right here, or he's punching and his arm is blocking his face, you know? So it's just, the comics read really strangely because he goes to great lengths to hide his face from us. And the rumor is that he did this so that he and his reader could imagine this character as a Chinese American.
Well, and then he has this sort of turtle shadow in the way that Batman has this sort of bat-like shadow, yes. But then the turtle shadow itself has these sort of caricaturized, slanted eyes.
Yeah, it's weird. It's a shadow with an actual face, right? And the face is constantly like glaring at either the Green Turtle's enemies or at the reader, you know, and it's never given any explanation. It almost is like a design feature more than anything else.
So you've taken that element and some of the other original elements from the story and incorporated it and twisted it and modernized it for the Shadow Hero. Tell us what you've done with that.
Well, Chu Hing never got around to telling us his origin story. We never find out his secret identity. We never find out how he became a superhero. So Sonny Liu, an immensely talented cartoonist, and I, we decided to team up to give this obscure character from the 1940s an origin story. So in our version, the Green Turtle is actually this teenage kid named Hank Chu, who's growing up in 1930s Chinatown, and he has this mom who's super ambitious and who pushes him to become a superhero.
It's a little different than one of your other books you did, Level Up, where it was you had again the super ambitious parents, but they were far more practical.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, in Level Up, the dad wanted him to become a doctor.
So is that something that you feel with your parents? I mean, over the years you've talked about your parents and written about your parents and how supportive they've been. Have you ever felt like that pressure? Like, really, are you just going to give this up and get a real job for a while?
I absolutely have. I think you know, regardless of where your parents are from, if you are an immigrant's kid, if they went through some kind of hardship to get you to where you are, there's going to be that pressure. Sometimes it's even unspoken, but it's going to be there, you know?
So your day job, as it were, is you're actually a teacher, and you've been a big proponent of using comics as an educational tool. What power do you see that comics have that may be lacking from the traditional classroom?
Well, I think comics should be one of the many tools that are available to teachers. And what makes comics unique is that they're a visual storytelling medium, but they're one where the rate of information transfer is actually in the hands of the reader as opposed to the hands of the creator. So for other visual storytelling media like animation or film, the director decides how fast things go, right? But in a comic, it's actually the reader who decides. The reader can decide to read it fast or slow, and the reader can take in that visual information as quickly or as slowly as she wants to.
Now, you're actually working on a book coming up in, I think, 2015 that's teaching coding. Is that what I understand?
Yeah, that's my next project. We're actually we just signed the contract. I'm working with an incredibly talented cartoonist named Mike Holmes, who does the Bravest Warriors book for Boom.
He also does Baby Mouse. Is that right?
Oh no, that's a different person.
That's a different Holmes.
Yeah, but the Baby Mouse connection is that we are following Baby Mouse's lead. Baby Mouse is a book that I really admire by two immensely talented creators, and we want our book to be about that format, about the same length, the same use of color. You know, not pink, but we're going to choose a different color. And I'm really excited about this book because in 5th grade I learned two things. Number one, I learned how to draw comic books, and number two, I learned how to program. So this project combines my two 5th grade passions.
Well, and coding is not something that is taught in your average 5th grade or even middle school classroom.
Yeah, it really should be, though. I think there's something about coding where even if you don't grow up to become a coder, that training in logic is really helpful, and that's something that I'll hope that, you know, kids get. This is the very first project that I'm doing that is explicitly educational. So I'm very, very excited about it.
Do you have any other projects in the work that you can talk about?
I write for Nickelodeon's Avatar: Last Airbender comics. You know, that's published by Dark Horse in conjunction with Nickelodeon. I've been on that for a couple of years. We have 8 books out now. We have a 9th coming out by the end of the year. That's been a lot of fun. I'm a huge fan of that show, so it's been a dream come true to work on that.
All right. Well, thank you very much for meeting with us. We appreciate it, and all the best to you in the
Yeah,
future.
thank you. Thank you so much.